If you've heard us talking about elk hunting with decoys, then you know that in the right situation, they can be a real game changer. But just what is the right situation? Do they really make a difference? On today's show, we talk about the decoys and how we use them. Tips for solo hunters, team setups, strategies we use for deploying them, carrying them, and calling with our decoys. That topic, along with our ElkBros shout outs and a ton of questions from our ElkBros mailbox. So my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillian. You want to hunt elk, and they live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you, backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy our show. And for those blue collar hunters following our show and grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show, and coming to you from Katy, Texas, a very close friend of mine, none other, Luis Gonzalez. And your elk hunting coaches out of New Mexico, from Cimarron, New Mexico, Joe Gilia and Leroy Chavez. What's up, guys?
I'm depressed.
Hey,
I'm
brothers.
depressed, Gilbert, man.
What's going on, brother?
What's wrong?
Man, I'm going to have to go to the mountain real soon. And that's just got me so depressed, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be depressed together. Pretty quick.
Tell you what, I was depressed today after my workout. It's killing me. It seems like they've cranked it up several levels on that little app that I'm trying to follow, man. It's driving me nuts.
Hey,
I hate the exercise. The only motivation is the mountains.
so what you got to do is, man, you got to put the headphone on with that bugle, blowing out there, and that'll get you motivated.
Yeah.
Bud.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I went on my walk the other night, and I had it was like at 9:30, and it's so hot here, Joe. It's 106 with 98% humidity. At 9:30, it was still 98 degrees outside. So with 100% humidity, felt like 107. And so I'm on my walk, and man, I don't walk slow. I'm, some people it's slow pace, but it's pretty brisk for me. But at the end of the day, I had every dog and maybe some cats in the neighborhood going. I mean, dude, it was hilarious. People are coming outside of their houses and seeing what's going on, man. It's just this big fat boy running down the road. It's so
That's
fun.
awesome, man. That's a true elk hunter right there, man.
No
Cranking
doubt.
the dogs out. But
Mhm.
and so we got to tell everybody, man, it's getting ready to happen. It's on. We're getting ready to head into the mountains. So guys, when you start hearing these podcasts after this, you're going to be getting our live from elk camp podcasts. We'll be doing different days that we'll be doing that. We usually try to do a finish up one that you'll be hearing. So day by day, a lot of that stuff that has happened to us when we're in there, hopefully it's nothing like last time.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
my
I hope
Lord,
we leave
man.
that
We made a
stuff
whole
behind.
podcast of mishaps.
Mishaps, man.
Bloopers,
90% of
blunders.
them were on that trip.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
So, we get those kind of hunts that just happen every now and then. Crap happens, man. But hey, well, if we can move even further ahead than what we did last year, we're going to be in high cotton. So
We do for a really good one, Joe. We do for a really good one. And
telling
listen,
you.
we couldn't really complain about the hunting last year. The hunting was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we no doubt made lemonade out of lemons for sure.
Yep.
But
Yep.
oh man, we just need a few little less drama things going on.
Just a little less.
Yeah.
just a
We'll
little
take it.
less, man. And Chav has his Vacru camo. I'm getting photos from guys, man, that are celebrating, that are getting ready to hit the mountains wearing the ElkBros Vacru camo. We got the
Mine just came
gators
in today,
happening,
Joe.
man. What is
I
that?
got guys sending pictures and saying, "Hey, where's yours?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. I'm jealous. I haven't gotten it yet." And they're like, "Wait a minute, weren't you the first order?" And everybody's giving me crap because I was supposed to be the first order, and everybody's
you,
got them.
man.
and I don't have them.
I told
So,
you
but
that
wait
was
a
never
second.
going to happen.
But you know what the problem is? The problem is you ordered Athletic Fit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now
So-
I'm athletic.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
He's
check it
afflicted.
out.
I can tell you that. Ain't nothing afflicted.
So I think what happens in the order process is kind of like that guy. You remember on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, man? Whenever the kid would get up on the thing, tell a lie, it would disappear.
Yeah.
You got it could tell that it wasn't golden, man. You turned in that Athletic Fit, and it just dropped your
Yeah.
order right out of there, man.
Yeah. This one can't be for Louise. It's athletic fit.
So if you want to know, man, I haven't gotten mine yet either, bro. So mine hasn't
I
come
don't
in.
know. It's
But-
pretty painful, but they're giving me crap. That's
But
for sure.
the gators
Oh,
are in
man.
stock, and
Those
the
are
gators are
cool,
going
man.
out. We have people buying them already. So by the time y'all
those
hear
are
this,
those
it's
are
gonna be
already
too late.
available, Joe?
Yeah, they're available on the
sale?
site. Yes, sir. Gilbert already has one right there. So don't hate the
buddy.
player, hate the
Gilbert,
game.
man, he just always is like. See, you guys call us the mafia, but you see, Gilbert has more of a mafia sense to him than we do.
Yeah, Gilbert has movidas, man. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what Gilbert
man.
has.
He's got game, man. He's got game.
No
he's-
doubt. Don't
He's
hate
pimping
the
in the
player, hate
background.
game.
That's what's
That's right,
going on,
man.
man.
Pimping
Just
in the
like-
background for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let's get this party rocking, man.
That sounds good. Well, guys, you know what time it is here at ElkBros.
Shout out.
It's time for our ElkBros shout out. If you're new to our show, there are just a few cities out there with the most listeners topping our charts this week.
Yep. And now for our top listening cities. And I'm going to put this out there. If you have any trouble finding any of these cities or finding your way in the Elkwoods, you guys have heard it. Basemap Pro is the GPS app of who? ElkBros Crew, right? And remember, guys out there, if you're looking for a deal for our grinders, 20% off of that pro subscription with the promo code ElkBros20. ELKBROS 20. 50 states, that's 50, available to you with that promo code, $24, all right? So with that, you should be able to find our top listening city right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll start it off. This top listening village is a part of the Denver, Aurora, Lakewood metropolitan area. Native Americans lived in the area before settlers came in search of gold. If you are ever visiting, you have to stop at Tocabe's American Indian Eatery for delicious tacos, or Yaya's Euro Bistro to get your munch on. And we're talking about Greenwood, Colorado.
Ew, Greenwood.
Colorado
hungry,
in the
man.
house.
Yeah,
I'm hungry too.
our state to the north. But Yaya's, man. I mean, I'm like Yaya's. That's a name right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a similar restaurant here in Houston called Yaya's Mari, and it's your gyros and stuff like that.
My
So
grandma
good.
used
Oh, really?
that word to describe some anatomy.
Well,
Unleashed.
wait, we ain't unleashed.
Warning. Unleashed.
no, that's a different word. A yaya in our house was like a boo boo. Yaya.
Yeah, well, it wasn't in mine, Joe.
Your grandma, man.
George Washington and the Continental Army bunked here on what is known as the Middlebrook Trail, and Betsy Ross's flag made its debut and flew over Washington's army here. It's also the home of one of the few unaltered Revolutionary War fortifications in the country, and this is in Bridgewater, New Jersey.
Hey,
New
you guys
Jersey,
in Bridgewater, man. Hey, forget about it, right?
Forget about it.
I have seen Bridgewater, New Jersey in the top 10 of our listing cities, like consistently. So a big tip of our hat to y'all over there, man. I'm glad you guys got that shout out.
Thank you.
Guys, next up in the shuffle here are one of the oldest populated areas in the nation. This neighborhood is located in the south central borough of Brooklyn. It is one of the original towns in the Dutch colony of the Netherlands, then became settled by the English Quakers under Lady Deborah Moody. This neighborhood is sandwiched between Coney Island and Brighton Beach. That's Gravesend, New York.
Gravesend. Wow, man.
Gravesend, New York.
I
Wow.
I
What
hope
that means.
Well, hey guys, thanks for listening, man. Gravesend.
Please,
And
you betcha.
I think a grave is in for a lot of people. So that's I just love the fact we got people in New York, people over in Florida, people in
Jersey.
Virginia. You get all these people listening. So thank you
Yeah.
guys very much.
All right.
Up next, first settled by Henry Rhodes after obtaining a land grant in 1841 from the Republic of Texas. The name, however, comes from a later settler, John G. Jolly, who purchased 160 acres in 1866. Y'all, if you crave meat, stop at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue for the best burger. Try Phil's Ice House in Jollyville, Texas. And we have a Rudy's Barbecue. I wonder if that's the same.
I
I
wonder,
think
yeah.
it might be the same franchise.
Oh, let me tell you what, man. One of the only reasons that we officiate at the state track meet,
Yeah.
Rudy's Barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just north of Austin there, Joe.
Oh, really, huh?
Yep, just north of
Jollyville.
Austin, between Pflugerville, Cedar Park, Round Rock, all that.
I,
Yeah, there is a Rudy's there for sure.
Yes, sir. And Rudy's Barbecues, if you guys have not had it and you're going through, or if you're going through Albuquerque, New Mexico, 2 stores there too. And incredible barbecue, man. Love that. I'm a barbecue dude. So
Yeah.
like when we go to Flagstaff, where do we always stop?
How we go, what is it called? Bigfoot's.
Bigfoot Barbecue. in
Bigfoot Barbecue in
man.
Flagstaff. Yeah.
Oh,
Great
man.
spot.
Yep.
Okay, up next, voted the All-American City in 1982, 1998, and 2009. Our next top listening city, built in 1794 by the United States Army under the direction of American Revolutionary Army General Anthony Wayne. In 1824, the Erie Canal, the same coal from all those folk songs, was built near the city. The city was nicknamed the Summit City because it was the highest point above sea level along the entire canal route. Big shout out to Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne.
Indiana in the house.
And let me make a correction there, because that's that auto-correct thing, the changes thing. That Erie Canal, y'all, is the same canal from those folk songs. 15 miles on the Erie Canal, right?
Sure.
Oh, cool.
You remember that when you were a kid?
Yeah, you bet.
I know you didn't, Luis.
I probably wasn't born yet.
They didn't.
Young punks.
They already quit singing stuff by the time you were born, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad day. So this city was named after Frederick Post, a German immigrant who constructed a lumber mill along the Spokane River in 1871. The purchase of the land is preserved in a pictograph on a granite cliff in Treaty Rock Park. If you like an ice cold brew,
Which we
you
do.
you have a trifecta of 5-star breweries that you may want to visit. Post Falls Brewing
Post Falls
Company,
Brewing Company, yep.
Selkirk Abbey Brewing Company, and Up North Distillery. All found right here in Post Falls, Idaho.
Post Falls, Idaho.
Idaho.
And we got Idaho, Indiana, Texas, New York, New Jersey,
New Jersey,
Colorado.
and
So
Colorado.
cool.
Yeah, that's just so freaking awesome. And
No doubt.
and I tell you what, if my son-in-law is listening to this, he's making plans to go to Post Falls, because that boy loves to go to those breweries, man. He just, for his birthday, that's what he likes to do, is just go visit
Brew
breweries.
hopping.
Yep.
Nothing
pretty
wrong
cool.
with that, man. Get you a cold brew and
Nope.
kick back and relax and get you an Uber.
Try that in Cimarron.
Yeah. Well, maybe they have a taxi.
ain't no taxi, man. You got-
Well, they call Joe. Joe will come pick you up.
yeah, there you go. Well, so we're going to get right into this because, man, tonight, y'all, we're going to talk about hunting with decoys, but we have a ton of listener questions that we're going to hit. So in our ElkBros mailbox. So we're going to get started right away. And, you know, the first thing that I always hear from people, there's so many people that do not utilize decoys, and I'll tell you why they don't. A lot of times they're a pain in the butt to carry, just flat out, man. But we're going to talk about some ways and some things that it's not so bad. And when we first started taking decoys, because you had to carry the stakes to put them in, right? Those stakes would weigh like 5 pounds, and they're just awkward putting them in your pack. And by the time you had to get the animal unfolded, get the stakes in, it was just, man, it's like, should I be dealing with this, right? But let me tell you what. Let me ask you guys: do decoys make a difference?
What?
They work.
Man. Absolutely.
They work. I can
Killed
remember.
my first bull with a decoy.
Yeah.
We had a decoy out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember 4 times using the decoy. Gilbert's was one of them, and 3 other times. And each time a bull came in. You know, that infamous shadow bull, the Sudjoe's shadow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That was one. And then last year, you know, what was it, like 3 bulls caught Gilbert, you and I in the open, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have that decoy in front of you, it would have been gone like that.
Now you were off my shoulder.
I was on your right-hand side, and I think
was on
Gilbert
your
was on your left, a little behind us maybe.
Mhm.
And we were in a burn area, so there was really no cover of any kind. And the whole attention was right on that decoy. You know, I could have been moving around and you know, still did not distract them. It was right there. And even after that first shot, you know, he ran a little ways and stopped. They weren't spooked, and there was still another one hanging around.
Yeah.
So yeah, decoys definitely work.
Confused.
Yeah, now, I don't know if you remember the time with Larry Gill down on the Lower Mesa, had the decoy set up, and Larry Gill shot that one bull
Yeah.
from about 10 yards. This bull comes out, I'm calling, I have the decoy set up in front where I'm at, basically holding it in my hand. I'm doing the calling, I've got, you know, and we're going to talk about these situations even more, but that bull just comes and walks right by him at about 10 yards. I had a shout out to a buddy of mine, Don Primley, that was hunting with me one time, and same thing, man. I'm up on top of the hill. Bull is coming This bull called this bull in from a mile, literally 1,600 yards on another ridge, came down into the canyon, came up, came over the rise, saw the decoy, started coming to me. Don shoots him at 10 yards. And the bull is bugling when he goes by him when Don shot him. Man, it was incredible. I still have that image in my mind. Decoys are in the right situation are incredibly effective.
Oh, they would even let you get a second shot if you screw up the first one and kill a tree, right?
Look, yeah, absolutely. And really, if I would have been in a different spot, if I was maybe closer to Chab, I could have probably killed another bull out of that set. There were 3 bulls that actually, when he shot and killed the tree, those 3 bulls kind of bolted, but they stopped at about 45 yards to the right of us. And then the other one that he ended up killing, he went to the left and was just bamboozled. And he turned around and looked back at the decoy, and man, they just couldn't handle it. You know, they were like, we got to come back and check that out again. You know,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And then on my bull, the first one we ever killed, we expected a bull to see us from a location, and we had a decoy above us up on a hill, and it was perfect. I mean, the way Joe set it up, and then the bull decides to come this route, and he looks up on that hill, and that she's standing up right behind you there, Joe. That Dolly's sitting up there in the middle of that field, and he sees her, and he just comes bugling the whole way straight towards her. You know, he's in a dead walk straight towards her, and Joe looks at me and goes, in that first opening, I'm going to stop him, and when I stop him, I'll call your yardage out and you kill him. And I'm like, okay. Well, I thought maybe he's going to stop him a little closer, but he stops him at 48 yards, and that bull stops and looks, and he's looking at the decoy. Then he looks directly into our deadfall set where we're sitting, and he said 48. I sent it, and the rest was history. But yeah, that bull's focused on a decoy up ahead of him. What do you think that decoy was? Another 125, 130 yards, Joe? Maybe further?
Maybe, right, 130, 150 yards away, yeah.
So, and when he saw the decoy, he was probably another 100 yards. So he was probably 230 away from the decoy when he saw it.
Goes to tell you also the ability, the sight of these animals. You know, they can spot you a long ways away, I guess.
Sure.
Well, they can spot their kind. There's no doubt, for sure. You know, and they're hearing the sounds, and then they see something that looks like one. They're coming to, you know, if it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, probably it's a duck. You know? I mean, that's why ducks decoy. You know.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because you guys got to remember that when it comes to communication with elk, they go sight, sound, smell. They go in that order, man. They use body language to communicate, visual cues and postures. So they're constantly looking like that. And if they're not able to see that other animal, that's where the vocals come from, right?
Yep.
And so when they're coming in to see what they're hearing. So when that bull came in, you know, here's that cow over there and sees that cow on the other end, because the way, you know, we'll talk a lot about this, but I just jump off into it, man.
Sure.
You know, the way we had that set up, because I was screaming bugles and was doing cow calls, and it sounded like a bull that had cow in heat. When he came around there and he saw that cow at the other end, like the herd was moving out, like it was a last cow in there, man, he started to get after, screaming at her, I'm coming, girl, I'm coming, man, wait for me, you know. And
it was
it was
every day of that burned in my brain. And look, even this last year, I killed a bull because, and I think it made it a lot easier for us because Brendan had the decoy. You know,
right.
Bulls got us pegged, and I don't know, we're 6 or 7 minute stare off, dead. I mean, looking at one another like we're trying to stare a hole through. And then he turns and looks right at the decoy. Brendan flickers a little ear, and he decides he's going to turn broadside. Well, when he did that, that was it. That was what took his life, you know. But again, I don't think he's as calm if he doesn't see the decoy.
You know, when we say the right situation, people going, well, okay, what is the right situation? So remember, when we talk about how we want to do things, we want to set up, doing a setup in a tight situation. Because remember what I said, elk want to see, they want a visual, right? If they're in an area where they have a visual, if it is timber that you can see through all the bottoms of those pines for 100 yards, 150 yards, and your cow calling or bull comes in there, he expects to see a cow, man.
Yeah.
And he expects that cow to come to him once he sees that cow. Now, if he comes in, and that's a good reason I'm going to throw in right now that we throw calls behind us. Because if he comes in and he expects that cow to be right there, 100 yards in front of him, he's going to stand there and scan and look. If he doesn't see anything, he's going to sit there. He might give a call to tell you to come to him, and you can sit there and go back and forth with that call. And if he doesn't see anything, he's like, something's wrong, man. It sounds like a duck. It don't look like a duck, right?
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Looks like Beto with a bow.
So
if it looks like Beto with a bow, he's in serious trouble.
Gotta run.
So if you're in open areas, if you don't have any undergrowth, or if you have a hung up bull, or if you have bull that is looking for a visual, that is the right situation. And for us, when Chad was telling that story, we go in and we are in perfect situation. So listen to this: wind in our face, sun at our back. Okay, wind in our face, sun at our back. And the reason that's good is, I don't know about you, if you've ever walked trying to looking forward with the sun in your face, it's real hard to see things, man, unless you have a brim of a hat to block that sun, right? Well, for those elk, they have the same problem. So we had the sun at our back. These bulls, we had not been patient enough. We had been down in the bottom, screaming, called in some hunters, called in some other hunters, had a conversation, and in that amount of time, these bulls that had reacted to our setup were still coming in. So as we're going in, now we do a call, we get a reply, right? So we start to go up the hill, unbeknownst to us that there was another group of young bulls coming in. And as we get on top and top out, we spook them. But we have the sun at our back. When they spook, they're not sure exactly what it is. We get down, we cow call, right? And so I'm like, well, what do we have to lose, man? Let's pull out the decoy. Now, guys, the way that I carry a decoy is so that it's very accessible. And the decoy of choice for us right now is the Ultimate Predator Decoy. I love that decoy because it gives us so many options. It can go on the front of the bow. Here's an example of that decoy right here. If you look at it, it can mount on the front of the bow so that your bow's shooting right through here. We have areas where it mounts right here. You have quick release. You have Velcro here, right here. Basically, I lay that down on the ground after I deploy that, take my bow and go, and it comes up, and I'm right here so that I can shoot through it. So now I'm behind this, just like this. Hey, y'all. So, so we have that. And it's great because even if I'm not the person that is the shooter, I can use this anywhere. We could use this for a camera. We could use this for all kinds of things, or I could hold it up. Nice looking decoy. I don't know if you noticed on this, but we even have glass eyes on this decoy. It gives
hey, Joe, show a quick ear flicker there, just to show people.
Yeah. So again, remember, elk work on visuals.
Oh, wow, that's good.
So elk work on visuals. So when an elk sees a decoy and he looks at it and it's all stiff, he's kind of like, something don't look right. But you do that just like that, like they do.
That's pretty good. That looks pretty realistic there.
Oh, man, it sells it. I'm telling you, it sells it. And
solid.
And as soon as you flick that ear like that, they're like, oh, and they start coming in, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we're in that situation. I have that deployed right in my back. I pull it out, put it on the ground, and within 3 seconds, I got a decoy on my bow, and I bring it up, and now I give a cow call, and now they look and they see that cow, and they're like, oh, that's what startled us, was another elk, right? Mm-hmm. So change the whole game. Yeah. Next thing you know, we're packing out an elk and a tree, but we were
donated
packing
a
out.
broadhead.
Yeah. So that's the thing that that I want you to understand that there are certain times when it's good. Now, do we walk through the woods with the decoy on the front of our bow like that? No, we don't. And is it there for every situation? No, we don't use it for every situation. Only the situations that it fits what we're going in. If I have a tight setup where we're calling with a lot of thick brush and I got a bull coming in and I have shooting lanes to the right or left, when that bull's coming in, I'm shutting up. I'm letting that bull do his thing. I don't want him looking at me. I'm going to freeze him once I have my draw and pull. So there's times when we're not going to use that. But, Gilbert has a saying, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, man.
That's 100% right. Just like a good handgun.
And it sure made a difference right there, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is, so we can get through this quick and we get to our other stuff, we want to help you guys out. So for solo hunters, a solo hunter is either going to have a decoy with you, just like I showed you, mounted on the front of my bow. By me having the Ultimate Predator decoy, y'all, changed the game, because now I am hands-free. Before, this was one of our decoys. In fact, this is the very decoy that we were using when Gilbert killed his. Okay, that's the Montana. Eichler makes a great decoy. There's a heads-up decoy that's really cool, and I'll tell you why about that. But this is the decoy that he used. But before, if I am a solo hunter, the only way I could use this is by having it staked out behind me and hoping that it worked. And then what would happen is,
and Joe, just to for people to fully understand, especially like guys like me that don't have the experience, the reason why you want it behind you is so you don't want that bull hung up in front of you. If you put that decoy in front of you, they'll get close enough to the decoy, realize it's not right, and then go away and never give you a shot. If you put it behind you, it just makes that bull get, focus behind you and probably get closer to you.
Yeah,
correct?
In fact, I like it to be off to the side. I would rather it be so that I'm kind of like in a little mini V, to where, from that straight line, so that as he has his focus on that animal, he's walking by me with his focus totally on the animal, giving me a broadside shot.
And not to be redundant, you got to play the wind.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you're not even going to see a bull if you're not playing the wind, bro.
Right.
It don't matter, right? So, but the thing is, and you can use that decoy in front of you. I've done it. I've had the decoy in front of me. But the problem with the decoy in front of you is, most of the time when that animal comes in, all it's going to do is give you a frontal. It comes at it like that. And hopefully you get it go to the side, but it gets kind of interesting and fun when you have it, when you're right behind it, huh? So, we've done that. We've had that. But in fact, I mean, there's some funny stories about having a decoy in front of us and some shots taken, man. So, and you're sitting there. I had a fellow with me that at one time, and we had the decoy in front of us. Bull was feeding in front of us because the decoy had it so relaxed, and we're behind the decoy. I mean, we're 2 feet behind the decoy, man, just using the decoy to hide behind. The bull is so relaxed because there's a cow there. He just starts feeding in front of us, right? Well, the guy goes to take a shot from the side, tries to get out there and hits a stick, and it goes down right in between the bull's legs.
Oh,
bull jumps, looks down. The bull goes over to the side a little bit and starts feeding again. So he goes to the other side.
Like I said, he'll give you a second shot opportunity.
He goes to the other side, and the way he turned his body, he ended up hitting the bottom of his cam off his leg or off a rock or something like that. Next arrow goes up over the back of the animal. By this time, I am laughing. I could care less what's going on. And I'm just laughing at the whole situation. And kind of like we did that one time.
So was there a third shot that defined was that happy?
No, there wasn't. There should have been, but I think I messed it up because I was laughing.
With the laugh.
Yeah.
Carl would say guide mess up.
You can have a decoy in front of you and have that. And I think if you're a solo hunter, a lot of times you have to. The problem with it, having it behind you is if that bull hangs up and then he goes off, Now you got to run back, and the decoy
It's
is
a
staked
decoy.
in the ground. So now you got to
Yeah.
pull it out. You got the stakes, you got the decoy. You're trying to run through the woods to catch up. It just gets awkward, right?
Mhm.
So that's one thing I love about the Ultimate, man. Is the Ultimate's on the,
Portability.
oh my God, it's on the front of my bow. I just go with it just like that.
And just so people know, right, Joe, and this is the way it folds is kind of like that windshield cover that you put in your vehicle. So you
It's
kind of
ex-
twist it and
it-
fold it. It turns into a little circle.
It's
And
about
I've
that
seen
big.
you-
You
yeah, and
unfold
I've
it?
seen you. I've seen you. I've
it in
seen
the
you
smaller
fold it
size.
and then put it right in your back, between your backpack and your back.
So I'm folding this one right now. This is the folded Ultimate right here.
Right.
And I put it right between my back and my backpack, like Luis said, and it stays right there. I need it, I pull it out, I deploy it, put it down. So it deploys that fast. It's down, it's on the front of my bow, and I'm right there, man. So, when I first saw that, I was like, dude, I got to be doing this. And after what I saw last year, between my bull and Gilbert's bull, I was like, hey, yeah, I'm in high cotton right now because this puppy works, man. And it's so easy and quick. It's so easy and quick to pull out. So for a solo hunter, they're either going to have the decoy with them like we talked about, or they're going to set it up behind them. That changes it so you can have it with you. And they're going to want to use it in an open area, an open forest, or low undergrowth like we said, and they're going to use it as a visual pull, man, especially for that bull that hangs up. Remember why a bull hangs, okay?
Yeah.
Uncertain. Yeah.
Something's not right.
They want a visual, man.
Confirmation. They need confirmation.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and I was going to ask you this, Joe. Don't you feel like that this is a tactic that works, especially at the front end of the rut when those satellites are really moving around or these bulls are liking to come in silent? They see something, they're even more curious about wanting to come in. I think it's a tool that's really, from the first day of elk season to your first of October, it ought to be with you.
Yeah,
sure.
I totally agree, because it in any situation it could be a calming factor, right? Because those animals get nervous when all of a sudden this bush is making cow elk calls, and they look over and they don't see a cow elk, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a calming factor. It's a visual confirmation. So that's one thing I love about that, man. To me, I'm not going to ever be I've carried that sucker with me now since I had that. Now before, when I had the Montana, because either I'm going to have to hold it up because I did not want to carry those stakes, unless we were in a situation like what we had with you, where we already had a blind set up, we knew where animals were coming in. It's kind of like a tree stand situation, right?
Sure.
If you already know how these animals like to come into an area and you're able to set up a blind and stake out a decoy ahead of time, well, that's killer, man. In fact, for those guys that want to hunt wallers or want to hunt water holes, I would absolutely have a decoy on the other side. I don't know if you've ever seen antelope when they come in. Antelope do the same thing. They always come to the rise above the water hole, and they will stand there and look and look and look, because they know predators are going to wait for them around water, man. But if you have a visual of an antelope down there, totally changes the game, right? And you know what? I want to try it. I want to try it stalking, man. I want to try, where I'm moving in with that in front of me. And
that's going to be way fun, man.
Oh, just to do it, man. I mean, just to have fun doing it. So
you bet.
So for partner setups, and guys, this could be multiple people, and it doesn't always have. So you're going to use a partner setup as a visual, the way that I do it as a guide, as a visual to pull the bull past the shooter, right? Now, and I tell you this, doing that, I don't have to have the Ultimate Predator. I can be using the Montana as well, or the Eichler, or a heads-up decoy, whichever is going to be easier for me to carry, because I don't need the stakes. What I do with that now is, let's say that I'm using the Montana. If I'm the guy up the hill, I don't show the whole animal. What I do is I get behind a tree, my body, and I use the back end. I'll have it move out a little bit just so that you can see a little bit of that back end, have a little bit of movement, like it looks like that animal is feeding, that sells it, man. It's that type of thing that sells it. Okay, you don't have to show the whole animal for that bull to see it. All right. But what I like about this is it also, by using a decoy, it also allows for a good caller to be the shooter up front as well. And here's what I mean by that. If you have a decoy, a lot of times if you're without a decoy, and let's say I'm the caller and it's me and you, Gilbert, right? If I'm the good caller, well, I'm going to have to call for you, which isn't going to give me a shot opportunity. It's giving you the shot opportunity, right? Right? So
not necessarily, but yeah. I get where you're coming from, Joe.
But if I have a decoy, what I do is now as a caller, I can be up on the front, have my partner who's not a good caller back behind me off to the side with that deke, and I'm throwing my calls behind me. And as that bull comes in, now I've set up the situation. Then when that bull locks his eyes on that deke and starts coming, I shut up, man, as the shooter on there, and I can just let the animal come by. Now that has allowed me as a caller to become the shooter in a partner scenario. So that's something for people to remember. Okay.
You bet. And I think, and look, we talk about this, Joe and I, and whoever we're hunting with, is whoever's got the angle on the bull, the best angle, they're the ones going to take the shot. We don't get hung up with who's up or flipping a coin. No, man. If the bull, Joe and I've literally had this conversation in the middle of the trail, and the bull's coming at us, and he's like, "All right, you're up." I'm like, "If the bull goes right, Joe, you kill him. If he goes left, I'll kill him."
Joe would lose it every time Manano and I would argue, but our argument would be because I would say, Manano, you go first. And Manano would be, no, you go first. And I would be, no, you go first. And then Joe would lose it. Guys, whoever gets the shot.
Exactly.
Both of you go out there now.
Yeah, so, I just told Joe, this is the way it's going to be from here on out. If you're hunting with me, man, I ain't up first. If the bull breaks to the right and you're on my right, you're killing him. We're not going to cross each other, right? So, and that's exactly how it happened. Bull went right, Joe killed.
But I've got that figured out, Gil, man. All I got to do is, like, when he comes over and you look at me like you got the shot, I'm going to go, I don't have a shot. I can't see it.
Hey, Joe, real quick, how does that decoy connect to the bow? Is it Velcro
Yeah. So there's actually two ways that you can do that. They have one system that use like wire spider legs that go on it. And it has like a little hitch system on it that will actually, some people like that because it'll let it fold over to the side on the side of the bow, so that if you want to keep it on and walk through the trees with it, and you can almost, it looks a lot like a big shield, how you're carrying it, like a Roman shield. So you could actually, if you're in a situation, you could flash that puppy, if you see an animal, so you already have it deployed like that. The way I use it, though, I have these quick attach straps. They have Velcro on them that go on my riser, right where your riser gets cranked down, right on your.
Do those come with the actual decoy, or you have to buy them separately?
You have to buy those separate. You have to buy your attachment system. Like if you want the eyeballs too, you have to buy those separate on there. Do you have to have the eyeballs? No, but again, it's like that ear twitch when they get in close, man. When they see that glint off the eyes, it just gives it that much more realistic.
Oh my gosh, those eyes look real, man. I mean, you pull back away from that decoy 10 yards, and I'm telling you can't tell. And you put it behind some stuff. Ooh, looks super real. I mean,
you can see those eyeballs. In fact,
oh my gosh, it looks super real.
Yeah, I really like the size of it too, man.
I mean, if you guys just look up there, right there. I mean, y'all see that right up there? I mean, that looks real, man. I mean, those.
Yeah, it does.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah, it does, Gilbert. But yeah,
my taxidermist actually saw that and he goes, "How in the world did you get the eyeballs out of that elk to put them in there?"
But guys, the other thing I want to say before we get off decoys is I recommend, especially if you're going to have an ultimate predator, that you practice with that mounted on your bow, shooting through it, man.
Yes.
Okay, because you know, I don't think it'd be that much different for a pin shooter. I really don't. But, you know, instinctive guy can mess with you a little bit, all right, just with your depth of field. So, y'all, let's get right after that ElkBros mailbox right away, because we've got questions galore. We got Patrick Benford. We got Travis Driscoll, Taylor Larrabee, David Casaselli. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Casaselli.
Casaselli.
David Casaselli. Sorry, David, I'm trying, man. Alex Federer, Travis Hyde, Jonathan Bruce, Charlie Newberry. We've got a lineup and a half with some cool questions.
Awesome.
So, Luis, why don't you start with Patrick, man?
Absolutely. Mr. Patrick Benfer.
Independent, Kansas. Independence.
That's right.
That's awesome,
So,
man.
He says, I was wanting to know what size acreage-wise you guys consider as a spot. This is our first trip, and we're not sure how big our Plan A or Plan B or Plan C area should be. And for
he's got a second question there. Let's handle that first one first,
Gotcha.
Okay? So, you know, they're talking about acreage, and that's a real tough one, man, because, you know, I've been in an area that has had, I mean, we've been in an area of only 1,000 acres and had all kinds of crap happening on it, right?
You bet.
But the thing is you have to be able sometimes to move off of that amount of acreage. Like, I guide on one ranch that's only 2,500 acres. Well, if the elk are on it, they're on it. If they're not, they're not, man.
Yeah.
And so you can't
that's
go
a little
anywhere.
picture right there from a ranch. It's like 2,000 acres. Okay.
Right.
And you can see they're on it. Right.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
they jump that fence that they're in front of, and they're off of it.
So I don't know that you want to think of a spot as an amount of acreage. I think you want to think of a spot as where a different group or a different herd might be.
Might be, yeah.
So, like, for example, think about where we hunt. Think about the different spots that we find elk, right? How far away would you say our different groups are from each other?
Well, sometimes within a half mile, but generally, if you're able to travel a mile in either direction, you know, the four corners of the compass, you can find different groups.
Right.
And there's always the solo bulls hanging together, and an occasional small group of cows which have bulls in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But now the acreage, it really depends where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know a lot of people, we mentioned several times, will leave an area without really looking at that area closely, and travel right by elk just to get to a different spot, which
I'd like
may
to know
or may
where
not
he's
have
hunting,
any.
Joe.
What's that, bud?
I'd like to know where he's hunting, what kind of spot he's talking
Yeah.
about. If he's,
Yeah,
if
so-
he's talking about some big elevated country like Idaho or something like that, it'd be real small.
Yeah.
You know, if he's talking about some big rolling country like Wyoming or even Arizona, it could be big country. You know,
So
a lot of it.
I never think of it as acreage. I always think of it as in time spent traveling.
Yeah.
And it seems like for us, from one area to an hour's drive on rough stuff, right?
Yeah.
So an hour,
5 miles.
45 minutes might take you 5 miles, man,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So to me, each spot is probably anywhere to 3 to 5 miles of separation when we go from area to area. Now, I could be in Colorado and I could be hunting, you know, over the counter there and not having to look in there and go 20 miles, you know, to another area, right? For us, we have to stay within our hunt area. And your hunt area, you know, could be anywhere, you know, it could be 40,000 acres, it could be 100,000 acres, right? So you just have to, and it changes with, like, you might have a lot of that's all pasture land where they're not at, and there's only so much where there's, you know, trees and timber and stuff like that, and there's no cover in that open grassland. So that eliminates a lot of areas. So it really, really depends, Patrick, on the type of country, its ability to hold elk. And I think that's the main thing, the areas that have the ability to hold and keep elk in that area, and thinking about water, thinking about cover, and thinking about feed. I think that's more important. to recognize those areas and not go, okay, I have 2,000 acres over there, so there should be an elk on it, because that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes, man, we get in an area and we hunt hard, and we didn't find anything, man. We don't see a track, right?
Exactly.
And we've been in an area with 5,000, 6,000 acres and not see anything. Well, we might have to travel 8 miles away to another area and then try that one. So again, it's not about size, it's about the ability to hold elk and for elk to be there traveling through there. So that's the way you have to think. Think about the trifecta: food, water, shelter, right? And you got to think food and water, because if you're hunting archery, if you're hunting anytime, you got to think food and water, man, right? Got to be there. What was his second question, Luis?
He said, and for my second question, which is a true blue collar question, did you guys buy multiple wind checker bottles, or do you buy one or two and keep refilling them as needed? If you do refill them, what do you use to refill them with? I know $3 or so a bottle ain't much, but I have learned from you the importance of knowing the wind, and it sounds like you carry more than one.
So I don't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm not able to not say it. Manano carries one, and if he runs out, he's going to borrow from Luis.
No, let me correct you, Joe. Manano does not carry one, and he will borrow one from me for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, I don't do any refilling. Any of you guys do any refilling?
I've probably had the same wind checker bottle and look, I whitetail hunt like crazy, so I might have refilled that bottle once in 2 years.
Really? Yeah.
And and to his point, what would you refill it with? Did they sell like bottles of that
talc.
powder, or is there any cheap
Talc.
powder out there that you can refill it with?
Talc.
Yeah, you can use different talcum. You can actually buy some of that powder from companies to do that. And
I've got some from Dead Downwind.
Yeah, and
I just bought a deal from Dead Downwind. It's got the talc in it.
Yeah, but what I do, and as a grinder, Patrick, is I always wait till after the hunting season when everything goes on incredible, and I buy them for $1 a bottle.
Yeah.
So, and
I think I bought my last one for $1.98 at Academy.
Yeah, I just buy them, after the hunting season and all the prices crash down, man.
Yep.
Good question, next up is Travis Driscoll from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he says, my question is this. We are hunting September 1st through the 14th. We are going to have a full moon during the early days. Any thoughts or advice on how to deal with the situation? If it's anything like the past full moon, we will be lit up all night.
Yeah.
Hunt, baby.
There you go.
Go hunt, man. Don't worry about the moon. Go hunt. The midday might be even better.
Absolutely, man. So you're September 1st through the 14th. And that means that those bulls in that moon will be cranking off at night. Go out, do some night listening first. You don't even have to talk. Do some listening. You don't hear anything. Do some night calling. Get them pegged. Mark them on your base map app there. Be there an hour before daylight and get ready to get on them, man. Put them to roost just like you do a turkey. Now, what Gilbert's saying is exactly right. They've been playing all night, so they're probably going to go in the trees early. Well, you're a bow hunter. We don't need them out in the meadow anyway, man. We don't want them out. We want them in the trees. So now's the time is if they are going to a destination, all you want to do is just stay on them, shadow them, put them to bed. That midday hunt is going to be incredible because they're not going to stay bedded that whole time, man. Right? So that's the best strategy. And, we've even done where we followed them in the moon all night long. Right? So that's, when things get towards the end of the hunt, things get a little bit desperate.
You do some wild, where they say desperate times call for desperate measures. Guys, don't get caught up on that. Go hunting. Have some fun, man. Like Joe said, get out there and listen at night. We make you plan for the next day. definitely got to have the wind right. For me, a lot of times the guys, they want to come back to camp because it's windy. Ooh, buddy, windy full moon days, midday, that can be killer, man. If you can get in and tight on them, when you hear them, they're on you. So, yeah, you got to have the wind right, fellas. But good luck, man. Travis, you guys go kill a big one. Want to see some pictures?
Gilbert, why don't you take the next guy?
No, I was just going to say that's the same time frame that we'll be hunting.
Exact same time frame, man.
You bet you can't wait just a few days.
Yeah. And we've had it dark moon, we've had it moon, we've had it hot weather, we've had it cold weather. Look, we did a piece called No Excuse Elk Hunting, right? And I truly believe that, man. Every situation has a positive to it. You can always look at something and develop an excuse for why things aren't going right for you.
Yeah.
Or you can
look at it. But a little bit of rain, it helps with the sound. You don't sound as much. And then, to Chav's point too, it feels like that rain kind of settles the smell down a little bit, and it's usually a good opportunity, especially right after the rain as well. So like you said, everything has an opportunity. Those animals don't have anywhere to go.
They live there.
They live there. That's, regardless of the weather, they're going to be in the area.
We in their house.
Or the moon, man. I mean, and the other thing to remember too is just because it's a full moon night, it's going to shine when it's full, but sometimes it depends on when that is going to set or when it's going to rise as well.
Sure.
So that's something for you to remember too. Okay.
Yeah, you bet, man.
Why don't you take the next one there, Gil?
You bet. Next up, Taylor Larrabee from Mulvane, Kansas.
Taylor, how you doing, buddy?
Man, we appreciate you giving us a question here, Taylor. He says, what would be a good calling sequence when an early season bull responds to a bugle and he wants to buddy up and he wants to buddy up? Also, how do you know if he even wants to buddy up or what the situation is after you close the distance? So we'll address that first question there, Joe.
Yeah. So the main thing that tells you, Taylor, is the time of year and what he responded to and how he responded, man. So, if an animal is wanting to buddy up, these are herd animals. And if you have a bull that's responding just because, let's say you give a cow call, right? You always want to deal with, and we always start with cow calls first. Remember, we go lover before we go fighter. So if I'm giving a cow call and I get a bull that bugles off, and it's just a nice, calm bugle, hey, I'm over here. Now, when I give a cow call early season, it could be a bow call too, a bull cow call, right? Doing a bull mew. So sometimes they're responding to that. Now, once I hear that animal for the distance, you're right. Close the distance when we get in there. Now, what do you think I'm going to want to start off with? Am I going to want to scream a bugle now?
Nope.
That's not what he responded to. I'm going to give him what he wants. And he wanted right away. He heard another elk in the area, and all he did was he gave a simple, I'm over here. Hey, I'm right here. So I'm going to give
and to y'all's advice in the previous podcast as well, I think it's important. Like, look, if you get confused, say, you're like me, you get the Vito Lacus bad, right? And then at that moment, you kind of, everything you know about elk and everything you've heard in these podcasts about elk, it goes completely out and you forget it. Just default back to just repeating his sounds and kind of try to do the same thing that he's doing, especially in a situation like that when he's not being aggressive. I think that should work, right, Joe?
Well, it can, but here's the thing you need to remember on that, Luis.
He needs to be fired up for that to happen, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, Luis, especially if you do it. You should always do his level or less than his level.
Or less,
respond, right? But it's kind of like if you're getting a reaction, like, for example, you go into, we're always using the bar. Guys, I don't go into many bars, by the way. always using this as an example.
Yeah, but, sure.
but you go in there, right?
Not any less either.
You go inside that bar and you see a girl over there or on the side, and you give her a wink and she kind of smiles at you a little bit, right? And then the next time she looks over at you, you do that like chest pump, like that, and she looks at you like, oh man, you think you're going to be giving her the chest bump again, right? So you're going to give her what she's reacting to, and the same thing with the bull, man. If that bull reacted to a cow call, the first thing I'm going to give him is a cow call. Now, what Luis is talking about is if I do that and he responds to it, again, remember, Taylor, we're talking, it depends on the time of the year. So, if that's how I'm going to gauge pretty much where this animal is. And we've talked about this a lot of times. And there's places in our academy where you can go in where we lay out all of how they react.
I was going to recommend that, Joe, a senseless plug on our academy. It covers that in the base camp. Hey, listen, a shameless plug for real, Taylor. Go check that out. It will help you tremendously.
Because it's going to tell you what mode in certain time of years these animals most likely in. And so when I have a bull that responds, I'm basically, how do I know that he wants to buddy up? Well, it's generally by the mode, by the time of the year. It's either that pre-rut or it's that rut staging phase, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give him, first of all, what he asked for. Now, do they always react back? Not always with a call, man. It's not always a bugle. I could get closer and I could cow call, and that booger can start coming into me silent. And you got to know this, and you got to be ready for this, and you got to expect it. All you got to do is ask Luis, man. Manano's not here. You can ask Tucker when those guys were with me. The first thing I told those guys when we go out in the morning is, I'm going to start cow calling. Right, Luis?
Yes, sir.
Right? And what instructions do I give you guys?
Be quiet.
And looking off to the sides, right?
Yeah, and behind us.
Right, because we are looking for bulls to come in silent because it's that time of year. They want to buddy up. They want to come in. They're a little timid. So they're going to come in and try to visually check,
confirm
who that is, right?
Confirmation.
Yep, confirmation. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to use. Now, what Louis is saying, let's say that bull goes off, right? Well, I could try giving him a bull call, but why would I do that? Why would I do that if that's not what he's responding to? Now, let's say I gave a cow call and I got nothing, but I give a small location bugle and now he sounds off, right? Mm-hmm. Now the game has changed, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've given a cow call, he knows there's a cow there, and he knows it's a cow with a small bull, right?
You found a trigger.
Yeah. So,
but you don't want to start. You don't want to start with the bugle, and then him not responding, and now you're going to cow calls because then I don't know you're going to get anywhere. To your point, I think you want to start with a cow call, soft,
right,
bugle until you find that trigger for that bull.
Absolutely. You want to go ahead and work it near to far, lover first, or passive, man. So either you're going to be lover, you're going to be buddy at that time of year. Now, you said also, if you have a group of bulls you're trying to pull in that are in a bachelor group,
right,
what calling would you use for that situation? Well, they're herd animals. Use herd talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cow calls.
Yeah. I don't know what Luis is doing right now, but ask Luis about this because he was on. You had how many bulls in front of you, man?
Oh, I had like five young bulls sparring off. I could hear them. Actually, they were kind of cow calling, and then also I could hear them sparring off and practicing with their antlers.
So, what do you think would have worked in that natural environment of what you were hearing? Did you hear any bugles?
No, I did not. They were actually kind of cow calling.
Bow calling, right? They're bull mewing, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think would have been the most effective to bring them to you?
Mimic that.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, mimic that.
Yep. Read the situation. So that's my advice to you on that, Taylor, is understand where they're at.
Group, man, get to cow calling. If you hear them calling to one another, then to mimic that too, and then have that decoy with you. Because when they see that decoy, son, they're going to come.
Well, and to that, Chab's over here to the right, and you're wondering what calls to use. For the longest time, what's the only call you had?
Oh, just Hoochie Mama.
Yeah. And how many bulls and cows did you call in with that?
Oh, several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Several 20.
Yeah, and that's all he ever used.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, were you ever in a situation? Because most of the time we use that, we were separate. That's why we were using the hoochie, right?
Right.
So, were you ever in a situation where you saw a bull and used the hoochie and got hoochie? Now I sound like Luis. God dang it, hoochie.
Welcome to my world.
Did you ever get to see their reaction to it?
Yeah, actually. The bull would put its head up and listen, and then slowly feed towards me, towards the sound. He headed in that direction or towards me, but real nonchalant. Just feeding, coming up slowly.
Give him comfort. He knew
Yeah.
there was a cow
Yeah.
there, relaxed, and he was relaxed, just kind of getting close.
Yeah,
Check her out.
He didn't bugle or anything. Just kind of moved up slowly. Just that I had him in sight, so I could see him. He couldn't see me. But that's the type of the silent treatment.
Well, and that's one thing I want to make clear here too, guys, is understand that elk move in their time. We're wanting every time we call for an animal come running into us. That's not the case, especially if you're trying to do the buddy or you're trying to do something where you're just herd talking and you're wanting them. And what do I mean by herd talking? What I mean by herd talking is you just I'm just throwing and it's hard. You don't hear it the same here because, I've got the microphone right here. But when I'm out in the woods and I throw that in different directions or use my tube, it sounds like a
whole
herd moving through, man, with those chirps and mews like that.
Yep.
So just by doing that and they hear it, well, what they're going to do is they're going, like Chab said, man, nonchalantly, they're going to feed that way and go join up with the herd or go check out where they're at. So you got to remember things move in their time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the next one. David Casaselli. Hey, I did better that time, David.
You bet.
From Imlay City, Missouri. Is that Missouri where
Sure.
Imlay City, or is that Missouri? Huh?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of us north and south. They get that Missouri and Missouri.
Yeah. So I covered both of them there, and he says, "Oh man, y'all, we got to talk about this, man. This. First, thanks for all the good info, guys. It took me a bit to get into your group dynamic with the 3 eccentric personalities, but I'm hooked now." I'm like,
Yeah. That would be Gilbert, Joe, and Chav.
no, dude, man.
Yeah.
Eccentric. I've never. I don't know, man.
I've been called a lot of things, but eccentric ain't one of them.
Oh, I tell you what, man. I've got a new thing to define you. That's so cool, David, man. I've never heard that, man. So you're going to have to explain it to me sometime, David. And he says, we've always been able to get into elk in the area, but I struggle with good plan for mornings since we're above the unit and the elk. And with the thermals going down, I always fear blowing elk out on my way down in the AM and busting out an entire drainage. I often end up glassing at first light, trying to see where they'll bed and then make a play to get there in time for midday. But I'd like to actively hunt in the AM. I just never like the plans I come up with. How can you move down with those morning thermals on elk in the AM to make a play? So what I'm going to tell you first of all is what's going to pretty much dictate your play is going to be, because I'm not sure if you're doing it, but I'm doing some location calls. Again, I'm starting with cow calls, and then I'm going to a location bugle while I'm up on that ridge. And then what I get from those elk is going to determine my AM play. So if I'm coming in on a ridge and I hear those critters already before I've even said anything, well, there's 2 things you got to understand. You got to understand the thermal. You got to understand the wind. because even though that thermal's going down, do you have a steady wind or a steady breeze from a direction? And what you want to do then is, depending on where that animal is, you might have to back up, go down the backside of the ridge and go all the way around to get everything right. But that's what you do. The only problem with that is you lose some of your AM. But if you lose the AM, it's better to still have the elk and be with them when they're going to the destination than to blow them out, right? So if I'm able to, and I have that prevailing wind coming to me, even though that thermal might be dropping down, that prevailing wind's going to bend that thermal, and I can start heading in a direction to where I get the same level as that animal to start working that animal in the morning, okay? Or I get down and come from the opposite side and start coming to where I'm not going to blow them out if the wind's coming that way. Or I wait to hear which direction they're going up. And you said the same thing. You glassed them to see it, but you can almost hear them, because bulls generally, if they're with cows, and then once they hit the trees, they're going to start sounding off. Once they get into the thick trees, they want them cows to know where they're at. So they're sounding. They're basically advertising their position, where they're going. But the other thing that you can do is you can find the down end of that drainage, and come in from the down end so that you have the thermals in your favor. Now, I don't know exactly how you're coming in, and I don't know the topography where you're at. I know you're up on the top of a ridge, but I would look at, if I had to make a morning play on them in the bottom, and I knew they were in the bottom, then I would find a different way below them to come in. I would actually try a different ridge and come off on the side of it and circle around and come in on them. That's how I'd make my play. Or I would stay on top like you're doing, and once they sound off, that determines how I make my play. Or if I don't hear anything, you're doing the right things, dude. And David, man, I've seen the photos, dude. You're a killer already. You're trying to figure out the better way to make that play, which is great. But I think that all has to do with how you place yourself in that drainage, right?
Yeah, for me too, Joe. I think he could figure out the travel corridors that those elk are using from the bottom to the top, and beat them to it. Get around them, beat them to it, and try to ambush them from the top, from the middle side, from the top to the bottom, right? So,
yeah, the only thing you got to be careful on that is because, remember, those animals are going to go up using those thermals.
No doubt.
So, yeah. So you just got to make sure when you do it, you are on the down prevailing wind side of wherever they go. And my favorite play in the AM is if I want to play on those critters in the morning when they are heading to a destination. If they're calm, a lot of times they're feeding, like Gilbert says, in that corridor, they're taking their time and they're heading up if they're not boogered. My favorite play is to parallel them and then try to pull those cows over towards me and bring the bull. And they'll do that, man. I'll be on the same level, and they'll come up and they'll go right by me, pulling that bull by me. So I really like, if I can, and if they're being lackadaisical and they're taking their time, I always want to parallel them to the down prevailing wind side, man. And that's one of my favorite AM workabouts. And if I don't get them, you put them to bed, and now you got to play on them at midday. Okay. So
good luck, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, eccentric of a person or their behavior, unconventional and slightly strange. That's definitely Beto.
Yeah, I've never been labeled as that before.
A person of unconventional and slightly strange views or behavior.
All right.
I take that as a compliment.
There we go. I'm in. Hey, yeah. David, man. Fist bump, bro. Fist bump.
You bet.
Okay, the next question comes from Alex Fedewa from New Lathrop, Michigan. I had a question about antimicrobial spray that you put on your meat while you're quartering up your animal. Do you use it? And should I put some in my pack?
Nope. And up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Never have I ever. And up to you, brother.
Yeah. And, for Alex, for us, if I can, I leave the skin on the quarters. I cut through and I leave the skin on the quarters. If If we can get those quarters into our camp, get them off that body, and then get them into our camp within 2 hours, an hour, I like to leave the skin on, and it keeps it from getting dirty, keeps stuff from getting on it. It's still going to cool off. It's not enough time. It's off the body. And yeah, you have some warmth in the bone inside there, but we have never had issue doing it like that. Now, if it's in high heat and we found that animal 4 hours later, then that's a different story.
Different
right?
story. Mm-hmm.
We had that situation with the bull. With my bull this year.
Yeah.
He ended up laying in the sun. We get to him, he starts to puff up a little bit, so we got to get that skin off immediately, right?
Yeah,
so
we did.
Yeah. So there's different situations, but microbial spray?
Yeah, never heard of it actually.
Yeah.
But Alex, you might want to listen to the podcast.
Oh, that's coming out? Yeah.
That came out?
No, it's coming out this. Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's podcast.
By the time you hear that, it's already out. Yeah.
It's last
I'm
week's
so
podcast.
interested in that podcast because it seems like you guys are really talking, butchering and processing, field dressing, and all that stuff. And
so look for the Insights edition with Jason the Butcher, man, and it's a fantastic piece, and we talk a lot about this, and Jason is he's a professional. This is what he trains guys in the military, civilians, on how to process meat, to keep that meat in a situation that is, knowing what to do so it doesn't go bad. Yeah, it's a great conversation. So go check out last week's podcast on that. All right.
Mr. Travis, hi. This year with the bow, I feel like I need to up my effort and tactics. And one of the things I am interested in is night bugle listening. You guys often talk about going out way early in the morning and locate bulls that way you can be on them first light. My question is, what time do you go out in the morning? P.S. I am the one who won the Elk Nut app you gave away.
Awesome, Travis.
Thanks so much. I'm using it a lot.
That's awesome.
Paul Medell is the bomb. Love Paul, man. And, just a fellow grinder, gets it done. He's so passionate. You got to give the guy his props, man. I mean,
Definitely.
It's just fantastic. So you're a lucky duck, man, to get that Elk Nut app. And for those people listening out there, we have nothing to do with the Elk Nut app other than I think the world of Paul. He's a good guy. And he, like I said, he deserves all the respect. For $10, the information you get on that is unbelievable, man. It's
an awesome app and well worth the money. It's well spent. He's a fantastic elk caller and understanding how to speak the language.
So, the audios there are incredible. Super cool. You got examples of both him doing it and then actual elk doing it. So
he wants to know how, what time how early do we go out and locate them at first light?
Well, we get up real early. You can, everybody can vouch for that. But a lot of it depends on where we're heading. If it's only a mile or a half mile away, our starting point, we want to get there probably an hour before daylight.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at least an hour, and start calling. Starting with the cow calls. And
it's a great time to soak up that morning too, man.
Oh yeah, the sound carries.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And when he's saying
cow call every now and then.
When Chab's saying an hour before daylight, let me add something. It's an hour before gray light, not sunrise. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So
and I think one of the things, just to kind of put it in perspective, Joe, and sorry to interrupt, what we try to do is that whichever area we decide we're going to be hunting, we want to be in that area with the four-wheeler or whatever it is turned off and all our gear ready to go, on foot, ready to start walking, and it's still dark.
Absolutely.
Still dark, pitch black.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we start walking even with, small headlamps and stuff like that. And then that's when Joe starts throwing out, cow calls and location bugles.
And if you're going to have a moonlit morning, go use it, man. Go to bed and get up there and be out there 2 hours ahead of time, because you can cover country in that moon, and you can see.
Won't even
things,
need
man.
your headlamp.
Yeah, it's perfect, and they're talking, man. They're comfortable. Now I have seen this, and trust me, this can happen as well. I don't know why, but sometimes it'll be pitch black, and you can be talking, but it's only that like half hour or 15 minutes right as gray light is starting to come up. You could have worked through an area and you're past it, and that gray light starts to pop, and you give a call, and all of a sudden those critters sound off. And I think it's because there wasn't any light, and I think they wait till they get a little bit of gray light before they start sounding off. And I've walked right by animals in the dark that have sounded off from. I'm like, God dang, I just came from there, right? So I want you to know that can occur at times as well.
I can't tell you how many times Joe and I've dumbed right into a daggum herd of elk in the gray light.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we'd be walking along, and I tug on the back of his shirt, because I'm normally way behind. But I turned on the back of his shirt, and I'm about to die anyway. I need him to stop. And I'm like, Joe, I think there's an elk in front of us. He goes, huh? Give me my binoculars. So I give him his binoculars. I got to reach in the back of his pack for him. I get his binoculars, and he looks, and he goes, that is an elk. He's like, dang, we can't go any further, man. They're all looking at us like, who in the heck is that? It's really cool. That's a great time of the morning, fellas. I love it.
If I'm heading out of camp, y'all, and I see gray light in the sky, I get panicky inside, because I'm not out there in what I consider the magic time, man. I think that time, that half hour before gray light to that gray light, is just a super time to be in the woods. And I'm not able to tell you how many times I've gotten on elk in that gray light, and right as I get that sunrise, what we consider that half hour before sunrise, get that shooting light, I've already got an animal shot when most people aren't even getting out of their tent yet. So
exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
I think it's a great time.
And look, it's hard, man. I'll be honest. You get in the night before, if somebody else killed an elk, and you've worked all night, then you get to camp and you cook and you eat, and after you eat, you feel like the freaking world collapses on you, and you just hit the sack, and you don't want to wake up until 3 p.m. next day, right? And it turns out you got to get up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning next day, and getting up is super tough. But is it worth it? Yes, every bit of it. It just increases your opportunities. And again, you're out there just for 10, well, in our case, 10 days that we crave for 355 days. And so make the best out of it.
Yeah, and that's what you beat me to the punch. I was going to say, here's the number, 355, 350, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be about the amount of days that you're going to spend dreaming of being back doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
So make it happen, get in there and make it happen. Suck it the heck up, get your butt up. And I know sometimes, I know these boys are sometimes going like, oh man, I hope they don't get up yet. Just let me have 5 more minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I can tell you, man, I've been hunting, I've been guiding, throughout, and man, you just get in a mode that if I'm going to make it happen, I've got to grind, and part of that grind is getting your butt up in the morning, being out there before other people, and it's just
that's the toughest part for me for sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it. Once you're up and you're either on that four-wheeler with the wind hitting your face, or you get off that four-wheeler and you got your bow in your hand and you start listening to the cow calls and stuff like that, it just like it's a flip gets switched in the back of your head, and you're ready. You're ready to go.
And some of the best sleep, man, is out in the woods.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, right up against a tree. Man, you betcha. We could take us a little cat nap.
Next one is Jonathan Bruce out of Eugene, Oregon. We know Jonathan. I actually talked to him on the phone. He says, do elk pretty much follow the snow line, or will they just drop straight down into the valleys? It'd be cool to be able to follow the herd down and then back up for scouting purposes, but is there really much benefit to following a herd year-round? And, you know, I'm sorry, Jonathan, where we live in New Mexico, I don't deal a whole lot with a snow line, first of all. We really don't have to worry that. I think it more has to do with our animals, has to do with the grass. Now, that's where that green grass comes from on a snow line when it's melting. That's why those animals stay with it. But I can tell you this, that's that high country herd. There are herds that never go to the high country, that stay down in that low country, down the fields, near the rivers, in the flats, along the farmers' fields. They never make that move. So I think the only thing about staying with the herd year round is just what I like out of that is just learning elk behavior. So when you ask, is there really much benefit to following a herd? The more you can spend time around elk, the more you understand the elk, the better you feel around elk, the more comfortable you get around elk. You get rid of those veralaques that you guys hear Luis talk about, which is kind of like the buck fever, the shakes, is what he's talking about there. And so that's the only thing I would tell you on that. I'd be speaking out of my wheelhouse on that for you. Yeah.
Cool.
Last up, who wants to take that?
Next up, Mr. Charlie Newberry out of Northern Texas. We appreciate your question, Charlie. He says, my son and I drew an Arizona tag in a unit compromised of Ponderosa pine country, open understory. There's some small craters that would provide north slopes for bedding. However, in that type of open country, what type of areas would you expect them to bed? If it were more mountainous, I would look for northern slopes, benches, and etc.
I was on the phone with Charlie today.
Okay.
And let me tell you where Charlie's hunting. And
it's a beautiful area.
In some areas around there, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is so I want you to think about where we run over in that area, because we go do some of those trails and stuff that we do, and he's thinking like it's wide open in there, right?
Lots of benches and coulees.
Oh man, there's so much roll in there, and there is scrub oak, and there's a lot of dips in the terrain and stuff like that, and elk there too, huh?
Oh, a lot of elk, yeah. And when you say open understory, it is open to a certain extent, but there's so many trees that you can see just so far, and then it's just massive trees. Mm-hmm. So they're probably bedded down in areas where there's an area where it's like a grove of trees that are closer together. There's a lot of shade in the area, actually, in Flagstaff. And there are some spots that are condos. Yeah, there are spots where there is some vegetation closer to the ground.
Yeah.
But they'll bed down just about anywhere where there's shade.
A lot of dips and drops and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And I think anytime that you have open area, in Arizona, and there's places we talked about. We actually brought Charlie up a little bit last week in this, but I never answered his question directly. But in Arizona, there's places where there's a lot of juniper, pinon, different pine, a lot of scrub stuff in that country that a lot of people look at and go, man, there wouldn't be an elk in that. It looks too hot or something like that. And then you have that Ponderosa pine country that he's talking about here. But there are way more dips and rises. And what I tell people is, when you hunt something where you think there's an open understory, then you use that terrain, you use the dips and the rises to make elk have to come over to see you, come up to see you, and guys, if you're setting up and doing a tight setup and you have open country, open understory, and you have something coming into you, if you can get that animal to come from a different level and you be tight enough where they have to actually, because that animal's going to either come up like Gilbert, like your bull did. I mean, you can look in the video where we see his horns just rising up over that hill, right? Just a little at a time. And then once he gets on top where he should get a visual, he's going to stop and look, man.
Yeah.
So that's exactly, I mean, if you can be close enough on that terrain to where that animal's going to come by and stop and look. And I know Charlie just became a member of the academy today, and Charlie, go look. When I'm talking about setups, there's a video where I talk about using the terrain, and I have a bull come in open area, a lot of ponderosa bottoms, where this animal comes from a lower down level coming up the side of the hill, and he comes in front of me 18 yards. In fact, you're going to hear me. I stop him broadside at 18 yards and go, tunk, dead bull, man, because it was perfect scenario. Just using that, instead of using vegetation, I use the terrain, man, because he's going to come up and look for me at that point. Okay.
If I'm Charlie too, I'm probably looking for what you guys said. If there is some oak brush there and there's acorns, they're going to be around that too. They like to bed around that oak brush too.
Absolutely.
It's real thick, and those oak leaves tend to give them a lot of shade and in mott's, so they'll get right in the middle of that and bed down.
They will bed out in the flats in the juniper in the shade of the juniper trees, man.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to bed, and they're just going to, like Chab said last time, they're going to keep their eyes open. They're going to have their little sentry. They're going to sit and look, and they're going to stay in the shade. They're going to get up as the sun moves and move to the shade again. They will absolutely do that, So,
Man,
you just
awesome
gotta hunt with your eyes, your ears, your nose, and get out there and look for track, and just hunt these animals down, man. And what's great about that flat juniper country is you're going to get those 15, 20-yard shots, man, because it's just so thick in there. So I want to wish you good luck again, Charlie. I mean, I know you and your boy are going to be going out there. It's going to be a great time. Don't forget to go to Bigfoot Pizza, and if for that breakfast, go to The Place. It's called The Place there in Flagstaff. Got the biggest biscuits, Gilbert, you've ever seen in your life, man.
For breakfast.
Some big old cat heads, huh?
And it's Bigfoot barbecue.
Yeah, Bigfoot
in downtown
barbecue.
Yeah, got to hit that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some big old cat head biscuits. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Joe, tons of questions today that we had answered. Fantastic content. We just in a couple of days, me and you are going to be up there chasing bulls. So it's going to be fantastic. The Mafia's coming into camp. We got the cat killer from Pennsylvania, Brendan Houlihan, that'll be joining us. It's going to be epic. Y'all are not going to want to miss our episodes from the mountain. That's for sure. Guys, as usual, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review, and you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And also, a reminder to our listeners, if you'd like your question answered on our show, just send us your question to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. Well, it's been fantastic. Luis, thanks for joining us tonight. When I see you guys, we'll be on the mountain with the Venezuelan Mafia, the Pennsylvania Cat Killer, and our elk hunting coaches, Joe Gillia and Leroy Chavez. From them, myself here in Houston, Texas, like I always say, husbands, kiss your wives, wives, kiss your husbands. Hug your babies, keep your broad head sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Oh, boy, Gilbert. Peace.
Sweet.